The way I like to talk about the work I do is teaching and parenting based on science, not habit. A lot of us are doing what we're doing based on habit, and I try to invite some of the science into it. So the science in this case of the brain, neuroscience, and then things like interpersonal neurobiology and other science research to try to help us be more mindful and be more intentional, and also use evidence-based practices. We all know that, right? So the idea is, how can we use these 4 A's to navigate challenges from the green zone? How will they help strengthen and our ability to respond to the green zone? Because you guys were asking for that. Like, how can I become more responsive? So let's look at these 4 A's again, one more time. We acknowledge, you're going to invite yourself in perpetuity now to acknowledge you're having a challenge. You may have learned to not acknowledge, to just rush through, to just move on. I'm inviting you to consider, is there an opportunity that sometimes, much of the time, most of the time, maybe all the time for some of you, you will pause to acknowledge the challenge. Now that we've mentioned some of the benefits to that, so just pause to be present with what is, without dismissing, denying, distracting, or fixing. And as you're doing that, I'm going to add in, notice and invite your inner critic or inner fixer to step back. So what he or she might sound like is, you shouldn't feel this way. You should know better. Come on, other people have it worse. Why are you being such a baby? So some of us have that voice in our head, which is super critical of ourselves. And sometimes we feel like it motivates us and it keeps us from dwelling or wallowing. But unfortunately, it can be overdone. And when we get to that reacting to that inner critic, it can activate some behaviors that aren't so healthy for us. Okay. And instead of responding to that inner critic or reacting to that inner critic or inner fixer, just try to get a 360 view before you take any action, right? By attuning. And I'm going to ask you, again, this is all about you today, right? Attune to your perspective first. We're very good at trying to attune to others' perspectives. That's probably why you're in the job you're in part. You're really good at connecting with people and attuning to their perspective, perhaps. But I'm going to invite you to strengthen your ability to intrapersonally attune, which is what the theme has been today. What's the story of my experience right now in relationship to whatever challenge is arising in this moment? What's my story about this? That includes identifying, understanding, and expressing to yourself your thoughts, your feelings, your body sensations, because the body keeps the score, connected to your safety, satisfaction, connection needs. So part of your story is, I don't feel emotionally safe right now, or I'm feeling dissatisfied, and this is an ongoing issue with this person or in this situation. So just being real with yourself and allowing yourself to consider your story without trying to change it. Don't rush to change. First, just acknowledge it. And also considering your drives. Well, I'm avoiding. Yeah, I'm avoiding because I don't feel safe, satisfied, or connected. Or I'm approaching in this way. And then your settings and zones. Oh, I know what's happening. I'm reacting because I don't feel connected. And I'm avoiding this person because they haven't been safe in the past. That's what's happening for me. We want to develop the neural circuitry of the green zone. When you attune, I mentioned it's the prefrontal cortex, is Leslie believe where it's housed. So you're strengthening the neural networks in this part of your brain, which is where the green zone is housed. Now, we don't want to forget about others. So you activate your interpersonal attunement in such the same way. Even if you're not talking to someone, you might consider, just while you're by yourself, what's that other person's story? Oh, now that I look at that teacher in the classroom, besides just me thinking that her behavior was inappropriate, I could also consider her story. How often were her safety, satisfaction, connection needs met? Oh, she's in her reactive setting. I wonder why. I don't like it, but I wonder why. And then what does this all mean to me? So the story I'm telling myself is this teacher X, Y, and Z, or my coworker X, Y, and Z. And a lot of time that story you're telling yourself is, I'm not good enough. It's not safe to feel my feelings. My needs don't matter. I'm not worthy. I should know better. So these are some of the negative cognitions that flavor our stories, that become our states, that become our traits. So the story where I tell ourselves activates certain states in our brain that can become traits over time. And as you're doing this, what you're doing is you're adopting a stance of self-regulation. So for those of you who said you get anxious, worried, obsessed, stressed, you get overly activated, emotionally dysregulated, these 4 A's can start to help you build a framework for regulating, right? It's going back to Tina Payne Bryson and Dan Siegel. We name it to tame it. And you can do this all by yourself. Of course, you can do this with an attuned other as well. If you have a trusted person, a sister, a pastor, a coach, a friend, maybe even one of your adult children, and you feel felt when you're with them, this is something you can do with them too, that you can take the lead to being like, no, I need to tell my story. I need someone, an attuned other, to help consider my story. But I do this with myself all the time. So the idea is we're noticing, naming, and normalizing, not dwelling. When we know how to skillfully work with our interior landscape, I promise you will not step in quicksand. One of the reasons we end up dwelling or getting stuck is because we don't have a skillful way to navigate. And then asking yourself, what do I need? Not what does he need? Not what do I need to do for her, but what do I need to feel safe, satisfied, connected, to be able to respond and not react, to be in the green versus red or blue. And then considering what resources do I have to bring to bear to meet those needs? Who might I approach to help, avoid because they deplete my needs, or connect with? So this is taking what you learned last time and implementing it for yourself. It's just an update in addition to some of the 4 A's. Okay. This will take, in order to do this, you're going to have to use your attention with intention. In short, that means you're being mindful, and there's no shortcut. I had a client tell me the other day, can you just give me like the fast food version of how to get this done? No, I can't. It's ongoing, every day, learning to acknowledge, attune, adopt, and ask. But what I can give you is a couple of strategies to get you started. Many of us learned that feelings mean fault and that we don't notice and name, we just move on. It's cross-cultural. I hear it all the time from most people. I've heard some version of the story. No, I was taught to not notice and name. I was taught to just move on. I was taught to just dial it in, just shut it down. So I was here listening to Brene Brown's podcast the other day, Unlocking Us, and she said something really, what I thought was powerful way to say it, as she finds always powerful ways to say things. When we name and own hard things, it does not give them power. It gives us power. And this may not resonate for you right now yet. But my invitation is to consider, if you had a framework to notice and name, could it possibly help you feel this power she's alluding to, rather than feeling powerless? One of the reasons we feel powerless is we don't have the skills yet, or we have them and we're not able to perform them all the time because our safety, satisfaction, connection needs aren't met. So I'm going to show you and offer you one strategy to help you with a key component of the 4 A's. And to me, the most important skill of any of the tools that I teach, and the hardest for people to learn, is attuned interactions. And the hardest of the two types of attunement, in my observation over 3 decades, is intrapersonal attunement, people attuning within. So I'm going to give you one practice I teach my clients and see if it helps you. Okay? And this practice is going to help you acknowledge, it's attunement, but it's going to help you to acknowledge whatever arises. It's going to help you be present with what is, which people were saying they wanted help with too. It's going to help you notice name, and normalize. So the practice that I'm going to teach you is called S.I.F.T, S-I-F-T. Daniel Siegel, here he is again. Dan showed up. Daniel Siegel, in his work with Interpersonal Neurobiology, which is the field he created a field, just that, based on a confluence of research across different fields. And it's what I practice in therapy, and I bring it to this work. This is his practice that I'm teaching you. All credit goes to him. And then I'm going to ask you to notice what we're doing for your mindset as we do this. We're asking you to have a C.O.A.L state of mind. What does that mean? Dan is known. I have a problem with over putting stuff in trainings. Dan says he has a problem with acronyms. I love the acronyms personally because they help me remember. So hopefully they'll help you remember. C.O.A.L mindset means as you're interpersonally attuning, you're tuning inward. You're doing so not from the inner critic or inner fixer. You're doing so with curiosity, openness, acceptance, and love. That can be hard. Many people, in my experience working with them, when they do go inward, shame, blame, judgment become hard on themselves. And then we're going to ask you, I'm going to teach you how to sift your mind. I'm going to help you tune into the S's for bodily sensations, any images that might arise, feelings, and thoughts. S-I-F-T. This is the music of the mind that can inform your brain, and your brain informs these 4 things. So your brain sends information to help you feel your body sensations, to create images, to develop feelings and thoughts. And your mind also can activate bodily sensations, images, feelings, and thoughts. The mind and brain impact each other. So this practice is a mindfulness practice where we're tuning into the music of the mind with openness, curiosity, acceptance, and love.